Hello, I'm Emma Hammett from First Aid for Life. Today I'm going to talk to you about the first aid requirements in schools. Now in schools it's really important that you make appropriate first aid provide appropriate first aid provision to comply with the health and safety executive for you as a business, as a school, and to comply with the Ofsted, or if you're a private school, with the equivalent to Ofsted requirements in order to ensure that your staff and the children are safe and you have the necessary provision if an accident should happen. So it's a legal requirement for all businesses to make appropriate first aid provision, and that is governed by the Health and Safety Executive. So there is the HSE provision that needs to be covered and the Ofsted, so it's two different areas. And your duty of care as in terms of the Health and Safety Executive governs you as an employer and the safety and well-being of your employees. Now, even if it was an individual running a business, as it was when I started up my first aid training business, you still need to make appropriate provision for first aid. Now, obviously in a school there's going to be many more people than one person, but you need to make sure that you are caring for the welfare. You have appropriate audits to ensure that you have worked out what cover you actually need concerning the risks, and that you have to go through exactly how many buildings you have. So if there's a discrete location, then that should have its own first aid cover and provision as well. So really important that you're taking note and making sure that you are looking at all the risks and the sort of things that you do. So obviously if you're a forest school, you'll have an even more complex risk assessment that needs to be done in order to clarify exactly what first aid cover you need. And you also, as well as your first aid cover, you need to ensure that you have appropriate numbers of first aid kits. Again, making sure that you have cover for discrete locations. And it is also strongly recommended, not a legal requirement as yet, but strongly recommended that you have a defibrillator. They do make a huge difference if you do have someone who has a cardiac arrest on site. For whatever reason, if you're able to get a defibrillator on their chest within 3 minutes and they're in a shockable rhythm, the odds of them surviving jumps from 6% to 74%. So it's a no-brainer, really. So you need to make sure you are looking at all those sides of things. So if you're a primary school with an early year setting, some of your staff will need to do a 12-hour paediatric course. And some of your staff will need to make sure that they are complying with the Health and Safety Executive requirements to ensure that you have the right number of first aiders to look after your staff. So we need to make sure. I can see some people coming on and saying hello on this, so thank you very much. Hello to you too. So I hope this is being useful. So in terms of the duties of a first aider, they need to obviously administer the first aid and make sure that they can decide whether you need an ambulance or not. So you need to make sure that people are appropriately trained to be able to help in a variety of situations. Ideally, they're going to be covering incidents as well, such as playground incidents. So you need to make sure that they know when it is appropriate. Obviously, as a school, you don't want ambulances called willy-nilly. A, it's not great for your school and its reputation, and B, it's a complete waste of resources if they are unnecessary. So you need someone appropriately trained to make the right decisions as to when an ambulance is necessary and when the first aider themselves can be dealing with the situation. Please don't be tempted to pop a child into the car and drive them to the hospital. If it's a less serious problem, then the parent can come in and take them to their GP or to a walk-in centre to be looked at. If it is a serious problem, you obviously need an ambulance. But in terms of insurance cover and things, it is not a good idea to drive them in yourself. So you need to make sure that you've got appropriate first aiders. So those are people that have done a regulated course that are able to provide first aid. And ideally, you would also have a larger number of people trained in basic first aid so that they can assist and support the first aider. And again, that they can know whether it is something really serious and whether it's something that needs to go to the first aider if they're on playground duty, or whether it's something that just a sort of bit of cajoling and they will be okay. Now make sure as well that everybody knows about asthma inhalers and how to help them, where the child should have their asthma inhaler, if they're allowed to have them on them. Ideally that would be great, so that if they are having an asthma attack they have immediate access. The same with adrenaline auto-injectors. People should all be able to recognise the signs and symptoms, so please make sure your dinner staff are trained up to that as well, and make sure they know how to help if someone's choking too. The thing about first aid is you want to make sure that you're treating things immediately, and that way it isn't a drama. So if somebody is choking in the dinner hall and they're able to identify that it is serious choking, the child can't cough, and they're able to put their hand on their back and give them 5 hard back blows and dislodge the obstruction before there's any drama that has occurred, then isn't that better than having to rush and wait for the first aider and then, oh my goodness, the problem is dealt with and it's sorted. So the idea is you have enough people who are first aid trained throughout your school so that they are able to identify quickly if something's serious or not and treat it appropriately. Make sure that people that have children that have individual healthcare plans, so they're asthmatic, maybe they're epileptic, epileptic, asthmatic, or they have a history of anaphylaxis, make sure that that is flagged up to all the relevant staff so that they know that that is what they should do and how to get the medication to the child quickly and how to help them to treat it. Make sure that if there's school trips that there is an appropriate first aider on the trip, and also make sure it isn't your only first aider that is going off on the trip, so that the school is kept short, is short of first aiders. So you need to make sure that you have enough people so that you have at least one person per 50 people at the very least that is available at all times, and that is including cover for holidays and sickness and being off-site and in different sites. So, if your first aider is down on the sports pitch, you need to make sure that you have another first aider up in the main school. There should be a designated medical room that children can go to, and accidents do need to be recorded appropriately on the right forms. And you can get some great forms that allow you to keep a copy without rewriting it. I've had been to schools before where they've been photocopying the forms. There's no need. You can get the right forms that are all sorted, and there are various systems as well that can help you with this. And so I hope that's helpful. That's just a brief overview. We've got lots more information on our blogs on First Aid for Life, and in the article I've written for the British Journal of School Nursing on exactly what the first aid requirements are in schools. And don't forget as well that sort of first aid is now part of the curriculum, so make sure that you have made the right provision for your children to be properly trained. Please don't just do lip service to this. Make sure that you've gone through a system either to get them an online course or a practical course in order to ensure that these skills are taught properly. I hope that's been helpful. That's Emma Hammett from First Aid for Life.